There are 3 water filtration systems sitting in the Amazon top sellers list right now. One costs $389, one costs $219, one costs $18.97. A former Force Recon Marine, 8 years, 2 combat deployments, carries the $18.97 one, not the $389 system, the $18.97 one. When I asked him why he chose the cheapest option, he said something I haven't been able to stop thinking about for 6 months. He said, "The expensive systems filter water to a standard you don't need. The $18.97 one filters water to a standard that keeps you alive. The difference in cost buys you nothing except a false sense of security and a heavier pack. In about 4 minutes, I'll give you the exact product name and the one specification on the label that tells you if your filter is actually protecting you. Most people have never checked this number. And most expensive filters fail it. There's a field technique this Marine uses to extend his filter's life indefinitely, not the backwash method on the instruction sheet. He learned this method from a combat controller who spent 18 months in environments where replacement filters weren't available. We're covering it in full. The reason he said expensive water filtration systems are actually more dangerous in a collapse scenario has nothing to do with filtration performance. 3 loops, 1 filter, and a water filtration conversation that's about to change what you carry. Let me tell you what waterborne illness actually looks like in a collapse scenario, not in theory, based on what happens in every major regional emergency. When municipal water pressure drops, within 12 to 24 hours of grid failure, the water remaining in pipes is no longer under positive pressure. Any crack, any joint, any connection point becomes an ingress point for surface water, groundwater, and whatever is in the soil around those pipes. The water coming out of your tap in hour 24 of a grid down event looks exactly the same as it did before. It is not the same. It may contain E. coli, Giardia, Cryptosporidium, any number of bacterial pathogens that entered through compromised pressure points. Giardia takes 1 to 3 weeks to produce symptoms, which means you could be drinking contaminated water for a week before you know anything is wrong. By the time symptoms appear, severe diarrhea, cramping, dehydration, you are already significantly impaired in a scenario where impairment is most dangerous. The Force Recon Marine's name is Davis. 8 years in Force Recon. 2 combat deployments, more practical field water experience than any prepper I've ever spoken with. The system he carries for 1897s is not the system most preppers buy. Here's why. And here's what he carries instead. The water filtration industry sells products across a massive price range, and most consumers assume the price difference reflects proportionally better protection. It doesn't. The operative specification in any water filter is the pore size, measured in microns. Specifically, 0.2 microns or smaller for biological protection. A filter with 0.2 micron pore size physically removes Giardia, Cryptosporidium, and E. coli. A filter with a larger pore size does not, regardless of what it costs. Several popular premium systems in the $100 $389 range use activated carbon as primary filtration, which improves taste but does not remove bacteria or protozoa. A filter that improves taste but doesn't remove biological pathogens gives you confidence to drink water that is still contaminated. Davis said, "The first thing I look at on any water filter is the pore size rating. If it's not 0.2 microns or smaller, I don't care what else it does. It's not a survival filter. It's a taste filter. And in a collapse scenario, I'm not filtering for taste, I'm filtering to not get sick. Those are different products. Taste filter versus survival filter." Davis said those are different products. And most of the expensive ones are taste filters. Let that sit. A countertop gravity filter, the Berkey style, weighs 7 to 12 pounds empty. Fully loaded, it's 20 to 35 pounds. 19 to 24 inches tall. Does not fit in a pack. In a shelter-in-place scenario, a countertop gravity filter is reasonable. In any other scenario, evacuation, foot movement, relocation, it is not a solution. It is a fixture. Davis said, "Force Recon doesn't shelter in place. We move. And water is always a movement constraint. A countertop system fails that requirement completely. It's not a field water solution. It's a kitchen appliance in a go-bag photo on Instagram." One more problem. The one he said is the most dangerous. The one that has nothing to do with filtration performance. Many premium water filtration systems require proprietary replacement filter elements manufactured by one company, available only as long as the supply chain is functioning. In a regional collapse scenario of sufficient duration, that supply chain fails. And a filtration system that depends on proprietary consumables becomes non-functional. Davis said, "In Force Recon, we have a doctrine about equipment dependency chains. The shorter your dependency chain, the more reliable your capability. The system I carry has a dependency chain of exactly one item, the filter itself, which is rated for 100,000 gallons. That's the dependency chain. One item. Dependency chain of 100,000 gallons. That is the operational standard for a field water filtration system. Let that sit." The Sawyer Products SP131 Squeeze Water Filter System. 1897 cents on Amazon. 0.1 micron hollow fiber membrane. 100,000 gallon rated lifespan. At 0.1 microns, the Sawyer Squeeze physically removes 99.99999% of bacteria, E. coli, Salmonella, Vibrio cholerae, and 99.9999% of protozoa, including Giardia and Cryptosporidium. It weighs 3 ounces. It fits in a shirt pocket. It attaches directly to any standard disposable water bottle. It is rated for 100,000 gallons of use. At 1 gallon per person per day, that's 273 years of filtered water from one 1897 purchase. The $389 countertop system, replacement elements required every 3,000 to 6,000 gallons at $60 to $150 per set. The Sawyer, no replacements. Ever. Davis said, "I've carried a Sawyer Squeeze on 2 combat deployments and every field training exercise for 8 years. I have never been sick from water filtered through it. I replaced it once, not because it failed, but because I lost it. The replacement cost me $18.97. That's my entire water filtration investment over 8 years." The instruction sheet describes one maintenance method, backwashing with the included syringe after each use. It works. But Davis told me about a different technique. A combat controller named Walsh spent 18 months in environments where replacement wasn't possible and water sources ranged from muddy to visibly contaminated. Standard backwashing addresses particle accumulation inside the membrane, but doesn't address the biofilm that develops on the exterior of the hollow fibers over extended use. Walsh's technique: the salt flush. Every 30 to 50 gallons, mix 1 tablespoon of non-iodized salt into 1 cup of clean water. Draw through filter. Let it sit 4 hours. Backwash. The salt solution creates an osmotic environment that disrupts the biofilm accumulation on the hollow fiber exterior, the accumulation that standard backwashing cannot reach. After a salt flush and backwash sequence, Davis said flow rate returns to near original performance. Not on the instruction sheet. Works. Non-iodized salt. 1 tablespoon. 4-hour soak. Restores a 6-week degraded filter to near original performance. The instruction sheet doesn't mention it. The Sawyer Squeeze alone is not Davis's complete water system. He carries 3 additional items, all under $15 each, that complete his field water capability. Item 2. Aquatabs Water Purification Tablets, 100 count, $8.99. 1 tablet per liter, 30 minutes, kills 99.999% of bacteria and viruses, including the ones the Sawyer can't filter. Item 3. Nalgene 32 Oz wide mouth bottle. The Sawyer threads directly onto it. Fill from any source, attach the squeeze, filter directly into a clean container. Item 4. Collapsible 2-liter NOC Vector container, $24.99. Wide opening for easy filling from any water source, including shallow streams and puddles. Attaches directly to the Sawyer. Total complete system cost, $64.94. Covers collection, filtration, viral treatment, and carry. Weighs under 12 ounces complete. Fits in a quart-size Ziploc bag. Davis said, "That's the whole system, $65. It handles any water source I've ever encountered in North America or overseas. Water and 2 hands. That's the dependency chain. The Sawyer squeeze does not filter viruses. In North American tap water scenarios, viral contamination is uncommon relative to bacterial and protozoan contamination. This is an acceptable field limitation. In flooding events where sewage systems overflow, Katrina-level events, viral contamination becomes real. Aquatabs address it completely. 1 tablet per liter, 30 minutes, done. Before I close, Davis said one more thing. About water storage, not filtration. And it reframed something I'd been thinking about wrong. WaterBOB Emergency Bathtub Water Storage Bladder. $30 on Amazon. A large food-grade plastic bladder that fits inside a standard bathtub and holds up to 100 gallons. Here's the protocol Davis follows at the first indication of a significant storm or grid threat. Fill the WaterBOB immediately. Before the event. From the tap, which is still clean and pressurized. 100 gallons of clean municipal water stored in a sealed food-grade bladder in your bathtub. 100 days for 1 person. 25 days for a family of 4. Davis said, the WaterBOB is the first line. The squeeze is the second line. The tablets are the third line. Fill the bob at the first sign of trouble. You fill the bob at the first sign of trouble. You've just bought yourself 25 days before you need to filter anything from an outside source. $30 buys 25 days. Nothing in water preparedness beats that math. $30. 25 days. Before you filter a single drop from outside your house. Here's the complete Force Recon water system. Screenshot it. The specification to check on any filter, 0.1 or 0.2 microns pore size for biological protection. Davis's closing line, most preppers have spent more on water filtration than I have and are less protected. Because they bought the marketing. I bought the pore size rating. The pore size is the only number that matters. Everything else is theater. Stay filtered. Stay ready.